Hey there, Elements family. It's Coach Justin here. Gonna be Monday, the 30th of November. We're gonna this is back to the beginning. I have a whole curriculum planned out for basic stuff. And so we're on, I think this is my 14th week, I think. Last week was 3 days, so but in terms of weeks go, this is my 14th week. And coming back around to the guard. So if you watched any from the beginning or were around for the beginning, you would have potentially seen some of that. But we're going to start here today back at the guard, because the guard is one of the most balanced positions. I will say for the person on the bottom, actually, there's quite a few more attacks there. You've got gravity working against you, but there's definitely a few more attacks there. So today we're going to do a couple of sweeps and go over some closed guard ideas, and then we're also going to talk about the cross collar choke and ways that you can set that up from sort of a sit up position. Okay. All right. So I'm probably going to come from a front position here so that everybody can see what's going on. And we'll just make sure we get the angle right. Probably gonna come back a little bit. A little bit. There we go. Okay. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay. So now the first thing about guard, the closed guard, is that you need to have your feet together. All right. As a larger fellow, not many people can get their legs around me, which is somewhat of an advantage, but also well, we'll just say it's an advantage. Not necessarily an advantage I want, but it's an advantage that I have as a bigger person. Okay. Now, if I were happen to be in somebody's guard and I wanted to act correctly, the first thing that I would want to do is try to posture up. All right, so your opponent's usually trying to push here on your hips, trying to get themselves up, or sometimes they'll get up underneath the belt and try to push through the belt, right? So it really just depends on what kind of guard player you are, or what kind of guard passer, I should say, they are. But generally speaking, the person on top is trying to posture up, okay? Now, you as the guy on the bottom, your goal is either to submit or sweep, all right? And there are lots of submissions from here. And when I go over this position, I'm going to go over basic submissions. There are some other more difficult to get to submissions, and some that are more what I would consider intermediate submissions. So we will talk about them, but we won't really go over them too much. Talking about the defenses, and we've talked about defenses some of these. So in any case, home base for the guy on the bottom is going to be a collar and a sleeve. Okay, at least the collar is important. Some people like to do in the closed guard, the collar sleeve is probably your strongest position. So you always want to figure out, how do I get to collar sleeve, okay? And same side collar is not very effective because of the leverage that you can create with the cross collar and the chokes that come off the cross collar. So you always want to think, I'm not trying to go to the same side, I'm trying to go to the opposite side. All right, and this should be a hand fight. This shouldn't be easy. People who study the guard right away should know that this is not an easy thing to necessarily accomplish. I would say the best way is to start with a lower attack. So I'm just going to take this, and I'm actually going to grab low on this collar right here. So if you see right here, I'm grabbing not up here near the head, grabbing down near the chest. And once I've grabbed this, most people will reach up and try to grab that hand, right? They'll try to pull this hand off, which is fine, because my next move is actually to get this hand pull this tight across their neck, get this hand inside, and go up to behind their head like this. Okay, so you can see that my hand's all the way up here, right? But it started down here near the chest. So I've pulled this collar, right? Then the hand goes close to that, and then with that pulled collar, try to get this direction so you can see, I'm going to pull that collar and I'm going to slide up till I can get there. Now, also remember that when you're getting a collar, getting it so it's flat is not the best idea. In fact, even when you go in, you'll usually curl your fingers and it'll fold over anyway into the sleeve, and that's fine. All right, so you'll notice here that when my fingers are straight, the sleeve and collar, or the sleeve and the jacket are pretty similar. But if I curl my fingers over, it makes a fist, and now I made a handle inside the jacket. All right. Now, once I'm here, a couple of things can happen. Okay. Your opponent can not worry about this, which is fine. Okay. Your opponent can try to strip it off, which is also fine. Or what I like to do is I like to worry about here, the pressure here on my stomach, and try to get this head down underneath the arm so that the arm comes here. And now I've lost my cross collar. Now I've got behind, and then it's real easy for them to sit up and break this because I don't have the same angle. I don't have the same angle across. I'm back to this position instead of this position. So some little tricks and tips to help deal with that. So I'm here, right? And I'm holding on to my opponent's collar just like this. And I've got my wrist up against their throat, their jugular, because I want that pressure to be there. Now, the best way, in my opinion, to keep the swivel down is to try to keep the head, the elbow in, right? So right here, what I'm doing is I'm actually kind of punching and keeping the elbow tight. That's just one thing you can do, okay? You'll play around with this and start to figure out, okay, so that's not going to work, and that's not going to work, but this seems to work sometimes, and so on. There isn't really a perfect solution. Sometimes the solution is to turn this so you're pushing away, and then when they try to come down, you just drop your elbow, and then they come back up, you turn it again, and you're constantly putting pressure there, and they try to come down, and you bring the elbow back down. It's a game sometimes. You know, it's not just black and white a lot of times. It's reactions. It's understanding what your opponent's doing so that you can move correctly, because you want to hold on to this angle, this position in this situation, okay? Now, step 2 is going to be to get this sleeve, okay? And there are a couple ways to do that. One is sometimes your opponent grabs your sleeve off of instinct, and that's okay, because if they've got my sleeve, right, so they're here like this, it's real easy for me to roll outside and re-grab their sleeve. And if they still got a hold of mine, that's okay, because that leaves me control of their arm, which is exactly what I want, okay? So now that we're here, all right, so I'm in guard. The other thing that they could do is, as I've got this here, they go to reach up to try to pull my hand off of my gi, or off of their gi. And when they do that, I reach up and grab their hand here and pull it away. And now I've got my collar and sleeve. Okay, so my collar and sleeve is what I want. Now remember, the sleeve grips, for this particular situation, I think a rolled up sleeve is the best way to deal with this, or to use this. Sometimes people like pistol grips, which is when you grab a material up like this and you're holding it like it's a pistol. And so I like to just use the rolled up grip like this, and that way I can really turn in like this and hold on using my back muscles, right? Because that's one of the benefits of the gi, is that you shouldn't always have to pull. You should create tension by taking away slack and then using that to make your movement, okay? So I get a hold of the sleeve like this, and I get a hold of the collar like this. And I don't want to I want to try to turn myself such that I can get to my side and get my knee inside like this. Now, there are two schools of thought, and I think they both have valid points, and it really just depends on how tightly you play this knee right here. Because some people think that this shouldn't hit the floor at all, which is probably the safest way to go. And it's kind of hard for me to squeeze this dummy right so that I can shove and make space using the dummy, right? But the other is just being able to put your foot on the floor and make that turn like this. So what I'll usually do is I'll usually keep this tight here, and when I unhook, my foot squeezes in like this. That way, when I go to turn, my knee automatically goes right where I want it, which is sort of like inside, across the chest, or across the body, right? Because the first thing we're going to do is the scissor sweep. All right, so we're going to do a scissor sweep from here. And the scissor sweep requires you to have this leg in here. Now, that leg could be, you could put your foot on the hip and create that knee frame like this, or you could just keep that foot out here and create your knee frame like this. Now, the interesting thing is that a lot of people talk about worrying about crushing this leg down. But see, the funny thing is that when they crush it down, they're actually leaning into you. So all you're going to do is use this outside foot and this hand to kick and turn like that. All right, that's how a scissor sweep works. I'm taking my legs, so you can see it without the dummy. Taking my legs, and I'm just pulling and going like this. And when they fall over, I come up on top. Okay? So if you're watching this, don't be afraid to practice this stuff while I'm talking. You don't have to sit here and just watch me talk and watch me go over stuff. You can listen to me while I expose it over these moves. And it's good if you are even like, you see the move and you just practice it while I'm talking. That's fine too, because if I could watch people, I could give instruction a little bit better that way. But it's mainly just about concepts and ideas and the moves, the basic moves themselves. Okay. So again, I'm going to get locked up, right? I'm going to grab the lapel low, grab the lapel with the second low, and then slide it up behind the ear. Then I'm going to grab the sleeve, okay? And then I'm going to keep this pinched tight to turn. And now, see this is pretty low, right? Most people try to sit up right here, and that's okay because then I can go up high with the knee. But another reason why I like to go low as well, if they sit up, then I can sit up too, see? Because what I want to do is, if this guy's sitting up, there's no way I'm going to scissor sweep this guy. I need to move his weight from over his center to on top of me in order to scissor sweep. That's the trick of the scissor sweep. All right, so how do you do that? The best way I know how to do that is with this sleeve in hand. What you're going to do is you're going to come up and clear that distance. So now I am real close to my opponent, and my arms across his chest. I've still got the grip. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this elbow, and he's going to come on top of me. So if I was up here like this, and I drop that elbow, see how he kind of comes on top of me? Now I can kick here, or keep this and try to like start to go and then kick. And once he goes over, then I can come up on top like so. Okay, so that's the secret to the general scissor sweep. And there are definitely variations of that move. Some people might not even use that move. I, with the elements curriculum, consider that move an earth move because I have to use force and stay connected to my opponent the whole time. So to me, that's an earth move. Okay. Now, sometimes Use those legs. There we go. Now the next move I want to talk about is the flower sweep. Okay. Not to be confused with the pendulum sweep, which turns me a lot. But the flower sweep doesn't require too much of a turn. And it can kind of base on what your opponent's doing. Okay, so the way the flower sweep works is my opponent has decided that they are going to be extra feisty. Maybe they even were able to break off the collar and they're sitting up. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this sleeve here, just like I did before, and instead of going this way with it, I'm actually going to kind of come across my chest to take it out of the equation, okay? And this can be set up in a couple of different ways. Sometimes people like to try to like capture it. Like I've seen people who get the arm all the way across, try to grab the lapel of the gi like this, and that's their setup. I feel like a much simpler way is just to like control the sleeve. So you can try to control the sleeve and then come up, but you don't have to with the flower sweep, okay? The flower sweep is, the real point of this flower sweep is to somehow block this arm from posting, which can either be done by blocking it with my body, like I just showed you where I come up like this and reach across. That's one way. Or I can use the sleeve to push the body across. Now for me, because again, I have less flexibility, this is the position that I would choose to be in. If you're a smaller guy and think, yeah, I can get in there crunched and still be able to reach, that's perfect. Because the second part of this is actually, I'm going to grab the pants, all right? So I'm actually gonna grab the leg of the pants like this. And if you remember from, if you watched any of the lockdown series that I did last week, one of the things we did was called a twist back, where you C-cup, I think that's what it's called. You C-cup underneath the knee, and you actually, instead of trying to slide across, you actually lift the leg up and swing it over. That's what this move is as well. So I've got this hand trapped, again, either by my body or by the sleeve grab, right? And I've just got it across the body. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this leg, okay? And I don't have to be fully committed like I would to a pendulum sweep. But when I go, I have to lift, I have to try to get him up a little bit so I can get off this leg, and then I lift this leg up and pull this leg up like that, and then they go over. Different from the scissor sweep, because I have to come up on top. In this flower sweep, I'm actually coming with them, and I'm going to come up to my knees to finish, and I'm going to have control of the hand on this one. So a lot of times people will transition to an arm bar because they have this specific control here. Okay, so let's go through that one more time, and then I'll kind of talk about ways that you can set it up. All right, so I've gotten control of the sleeve. I'm not having good luck controlling anything else, so I punch the sleeve across, maybe even down to my waist here, and then I'm going to reach and grab the pants. And notice I don't have to unlock my legs to grab the pants. I can just reach down. Should be able just to reach down and grab the pants. And I use my hips to start to roll them that way. And then once they start to go that way, I lift up and twist, just like we did on the last one. And then boom, come up. And now I'm in mount position. Okay. Now we went over the mount position a lot a few weeks ago. If you want to look into how to transition from there. But let's talk about what can happen here when your opponent, when you get, or what your circumstances might be to get you to that point where you would use a flower sweep. Okay, so and to reiterate in terms of the curriculum, in case you're on my YouTube channel watching this, the the flower sweep equates to a water move because we're not trying to use force. We're trying to use fluid motion to get this to move. Pretty simple, straightforward, easy analogy, right? Okay, so as always, setting up for the cross collar is going to be always our first, right? And so sometimes your opponent will reach up and grab with their hands. So imagine you're here like this, you're trying to grab your hand and trying to pull this off, and they yank it off, right? In the process, you grabbed this sleeve, so now this is yanked off, okay? And you don't want to go back to the collar, or maybe they press up on you so you can't go back to the collar. That's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to keep control of this same way as before. I'm going to punch it across, grab the pants, go for my sweep. Okay? So that would be the main instance on how to defend, or how to set this up. Okay, you can actually just go for this. I mean, if you want to, like, let's say a guy postures up on you, and you decide, you know what? I'm not a collar grabber. I just want to sweep this guy. Like, guard may not be your cup of tea, which is fine. You should make it a priority to try to learn different sweeps and different submissions from here, because this is a very strong position in the gi. But you should, but you might just go, hey, I'm going to go right to a sweep. So you grab the sleeve, right? You reach and you grab those pants, and you sort of buck and lift and turn, and now they're already going. And you let go and go for that sweep. And that's it. Excuse me. All right. Now, just to go over the two that we've already talked about one more time, is the scissor sweep. All right, so scissor sweep again. I grab low to set up the collar, which I also start by grabbing low, and then I slide it up to the throat like this, and I figure out a way to get this sleeve. That way it can either be because they're pushing on my waist, and I reach down and grab that sleeve, or they reach up to try to take this hand off this collar here, and I pull it away. So those are the two ways that this could happen. So now that I'm here, right, I want to go into my sweep, the sweep itself, or to set up for the sweep. Okay, so what can happen? Again, your opponent, or you can either, if you have the right ability to, and like I said, I still haven't quite figured out how to sort of squirt yourself through, or you keep this one of your knees, that preferably the one that's on the same side as the same arm as the collar, real tight. You push off of it, and then your knee automatically comes in to the low pocket. All right, so you probably can't see that very well, but right there you can see my knee came into, my knee is, see where my leg's wiggling? That's the low pocket. All right, once I'm in the low pocket, I need to get my opponent closer to me. So I'll come up onto my shoulder like so. Really take this space out by bicep curling and pulling on my arm real hard like this. Then when I take this out, drop back down, they come back down with me. Then I start to go, and I kick. And once they go, I come up. Now I'm here on mount, and I can start whatever attack I want to go for. You don't have to go to mount. I mean, it's the most like aggressive position. I think that's why people like it so much. I don't like it because the more aggressive something is, the easier it is to escape. So you really got to be like good at it, and I'm not very good at it. I will definitely probably go to it more often just to get better at it. But when you go to scissor sweep, right, and I go to turn, see, I don't have to end up there. I can end up here like this. and I can end up in side control instead. So I don't have to end up on top. I don't have to end up mounting my opponent. I can end up coming out like this and sitting right here. And then from here, I can do, my normal side control attacks. I could go, here like this, come in here, or I could go to my scarf hold, which I haven't talked about, but I know there's a lot of good stuff there as well. So just remember that even if you mess up a sweep sometimes, you don't always end up in a bad position. You just got to pay attention to what your opponent does. Because if I did this to a small guy, for example, and I got here like this, it might be real easy for that small guy to try to throw his legs up and grab my head. It's a big target. So I really got to tuck my head down till I'm ready to readjust for my side control position. Okay. Okay. And there is one other thing that I want to show you for people who are more wrestlers, more people who even like no-gi. This is actually an easy way to set this up as well. You can use what I have come to be known as is the reverse Kimura. So you know what a Kimura is from here. I'd go over this shoulder, right? In a figure four. A reverse Kimura would be if I take this shoulder and I push the wrist down and I come, it's harder to do. Sorry, it's this way. It's so I push the wrist down and I come up like this and I grab like this. So if I'm here, I can also switch to my scissor because I've got that control and then go to the scissor. It's not going to be that easy on real live opponents because this guy weighs 40 pounds, something like that, 50 pounds maybe. So real opponent, you'll get a lot more resistance in that motion. So just remember that when you're practicing. Be like, it looks so easy when Coach Justin did it. Yeah, it was. Because this dummy doesn't weigh very much. All right, so let's transition to the submission that if I were you, I would look at setting up. And that is the traditional collar choke. Sorry, just look at the tap. So your traditional collar choke starts from the cross collar grip, like I've been showing this whole time. All right, so you come in, you pull this down, you reach up and you grab it, right? And in this position, in this setup, this might be a situation where you're having trouble grabbing the wrist, or you just want to finish it. Maybe you're in a competition and your coach goes, short time, because that happens, or your opponent doesn't know what they're doing. So you decide, I'm just going to end this right now. And maybe it's at school and you're defending somebody, or maybe it's at a bar, or maybe, it's, a worse situation. So you need to figure out how to end this fight basically before it starts. So what you're going to do is you're going to start by getting that collar control like this. Okay? We're going to be here in the guard. Now that I have that collar control, I'm not going to try to squirt out of this like I did last time, because what I would call it squirt, the one where you pinch your knees together and get out. You're creating space in that situation. We don't want to create space in that situation. We want to kind of keep the space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like this, and instead of trying to turn in to get my knee inside, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use that to turn myself sideways like this. Okay, see how I did that? I shoved with my hand at the same time as I turned off of this outside foot here. Okay, so I'll show that one more time. So here I am, straight up and down on on my opponent. I've got my collar in here, or my sleeve, or my grip here on this collar. And I'm here in the guard, right? So I'm going to keep this knee tight. I'm going to put it on the mat, and I'm going to turn. I'm going to rotate and shove at the same time. So I'm going to like this. So now I'm here, right? I'm still keeping this tight. Still knees in tight, overhook's tight, or leg hook is tight right here, and I'm pushing on their face like this. Okay, so their jaw should be slightly cocked to the side. And now, with their jaw slightly cocked to the side, and I'm pushing away, this hand comes underneath. So this hand here comes underneath that arm and right into this side of the jacket here. So we go underhook on that, or under grip on that side. So now we've made our cross look. Right? Now that we've got our cross look set up, our next step is to come back straight on. And then what we're going to do is you're going to turn your elbows, you're going to rotate, or sorry, turn your elbow or your wrists up. So the thumbs go inside towards the, and then you're basically just going to pull your arms like this. Okay. So thumb inside, got this thumb inside. I'm going to go here, and then I'm just slowly going to pull like this. And what I'm doing is I'm getting that lapel inside the throat, and I'm pulling down with my arms and across. Okay, so my arms don't just stay loose. They're going to my side, and then I'm pulling my shoulder blades back as I pull across, right? If this were a person, they'd probably choke a few times. One of the nice things about working with Bob instead of a real person is that no, I'm choking, I'm dead, and then I gotta resuscitate him, and then you guys got it on video. Okay, so one more time. My hand goes in to its desired location. All right, I'm going to keep this knee pinched here, and I'm going to twist to the side. All right, then once I'm here, and I'm using this forearm to push on the face, it's not just sitting here. I'm actually twisting that forearm into that face. This hand comes inside, grabs that lapel. Right now, once we grab that lapel, then we're going to go turn and go thumb inside. Once the thumb's inside, then we're going to get our hands tight, our arms tight, and then just pull down with our back. Now, sometimes you'll get a really, really, really strong guy, okay? And you go to do this move, and they're just not having it, right? Maybe even they've dipped their chin down, so you're not getting that same sort of choke. There is a way to choke somebody pushing away as well. Because what you're going to do is you're going to twist the hands inside, and what's going to happen is as you start to twist the hands inside, the pinky part of your hand gets underneath the jaw and creates the choke. Okay? It's probably less successful, but if you do it right, you're still taking the slack out of the gi because you're pulling it this way. So before, I'm trying to go like this, right? Trying to pull this way. Now, if I got my jaw down like this, and someone goes in here and tries to pull this way, this is what can happen. But if instead I try to push, that gives me some leverage to get the jaw out underneath, get that there like that, and now I can choke with the outside of the hands and extend out like this. There are lots of chokes where it's not just about pulling in, it's also about extending out. So that's probably a good way to also show with the hands. So if I'm in here like this, and I've got the collar, so I've got this collar, this hand came in, I grabbed that collar, I'm going to turn the wrists up like this so they get the thumbs up against the carotids and come down, right? If I have to go the other way, I'm going to try to turn my wrists so my pinkies go through. And as my pinkies go through, if I can keep kind of readjusting that till I get their jaw up a little bit, and then I can get my pinkies underneath there and really use that to help choke. Because see, what's going to happen is I'm actually going to sort of go like that, and then I'm not going to try to just push in with my hands. I'm going to try to also pull, as I'm pushing, I'm pulling like the slack out. It sounds weird because I just said push and pull at the same time, and that usually you can't do one and the other. But like if you see how the hands work when you push, you'll notice as I twist, I'm taking slack out. See how I'm like taking slack out with the push? This way I'm taking slack out with the pull, right? So I'm pulling right there and I'm taking slack out. This way, when I push, I'm rotating this gi top here. So I'm actually taking slack out that way, and then I'm using that to help add leverage to the choke. So that's a different way to think about it, a different way to think about that, that move. So you can either do the pull or you can do the push from that specific one. There are a few other cross collar chokes alternates that we'll go over in a couple of days, but for today, that's just the basic one. Now, I always also like to talk about ideas, concepts with it, and ideas for defense. Okay, so just like the other ones, what I like to do, or this is like based on my experience. What I like to do is I like to dip my chin below the line of the gi that the person has. So even if he's way up here like this, I can dip my chin down and try to get my ear above their hand because they're already pulling this, right? So they're pulling this. If I can just try to get this a little bit to get this here, maybe even sort of, give some slack that direction, bind up this shoulder a little bit, but then I can get that head down and then to block the choke. And that way they can't really come across. The other thing I like to do is I like to get the head out and around. It's another thing I'll do. So usually I do that off of a bump. Okay. So what I mean is so I'm here, right? And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to lower into my gi a little bit more like a turtle, get the head a little higher. So I really want, as a choker, want to be down here near the ear. But it's real easy for your opponent to sort of round his back. And as they round their back, their gi sort of slides down and their hand kind of comes up farther away from the head. So I want it to be here and they slide up there. That's one thing. All right, now once it's up there, it's actually pretty easy to push this elbow up. And once this elbow gets pushed up, this head just drops and comes here. And now our opponent has lost that choke. Okay, that's one thing. Now, another thing, if your opponent has like reaction of mercury and arms of steel, another thing you want to do is block the other hand from coming in, right? So this is here, and I'm trying to go in for that choke. You can just reach through with that hand and basically shake my hand. I mean, think about it. Like if this is their left hand, thumbs up, thumb inside. This is my left hand. You just kind of shake their hand, and now they can't choke you, right? So you've reached in, shook their hand. I do that a lot, actually, to defend against chokes. I try to make the space small, so they have to try to get their hands in a small space. Then I use my other hand to sort of shake their hand. Like very rarely does it not match up. Occasionally it doesn't because of the positioning. Like I was gonna say turtle, but I'm not sure that works. I would say on the back. So if someone's on your back and they're trying to get their hand inside, the shaking the hand thing's not gonna work because it's like this, So if this is the left arm coming in to choke and this is the right arm coming in to block, that doesn't quite work. But in turtle, it usually works because I'm coming in over the top like this, and then so I mean it's still a little. Oh yeah, that's right. So I can get in there and I can block and I can shake hands. That's another reason why I like that. And so that's a good way to a thoughtful way to think about defending in this situation as well. Okay, so we're not talking right now so much about how to break or pass the guard. That's going to be next week. Because right now we're talking about bottom. So this week we'll be talking about bottom guard and what you should be thinking about in terms of sweeps and what you should think in terms of attacks. So just think of this as these moves as a way to defend against that choke in both the short term and the long term. And again, ideally, even if you can get this hand off, before I make any special moves, then I've already sort of lost that fight and I have to pick a different one, right? So if I'm here, you grab my wrists and you pop this hand off with using the normal break. So the normal break, just to give you guys more of a visual. So if I'm here in the guard like this, somebody puts their hand on my sleeve, my collar, I'm going to grab their hand with my hands like this. And there's a couple of technical tricks here that you can do. One is to like sort of squeeze the hand at the wrist in between your hands. Another is you can actually like grab the outside of the hand and try to roll it out. That's another way to do it. But in any situation, you always want to like pull and push at the same time. So I'm going to push the hand off and I'm going to pull back at the same time. So it's got to be like, boom, like that, 1, 2. And that will get, most of the time, get your opponent's hand off. But like I said, sometimes, you know, somebody who's been doing this for a really long time has hands of iron and you're not going to break them. That's going to be your trick. So, all right, everybody, it is 6:40. So thank you for watching. I hope that gives you something to practice. And tomorrow we'll be doing a couple more sweeps and another submission. So I will see you guys all then. Have a good rest of your day.